Donald Trump tried to argue that he was not the one who raised the question when he was questioning Kamala Harris's ethnicity. Take a listen to this exchange.
Because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it. So you'll have to ask her. To me, it doesn't matter. But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both. To me, it doesn't matter.
Well, despite saying in part 8 days ago that Harris, quote, happened to turn black, in his words, and now she wants to be known as black, Donald Trump now saying it's Harris who's being disrespectful, as you just heard. Sure, Michael, how do you work with that if you were advising the campaign?
Eric, if I had the answer to that question, I'd be the richest guy on this panel right now.
Donald Trump is losing it, and even Republicans can't help but laugh. He is literally becoming a laughingstock to everyone around him. But this is who the GOP wants to be president. The 78-year-old adjudicated rapist and convicted felon who stole classified documents, tried to overturn the 2020 election, and incited an insurrection. These are the people who claim to be the party of family values, law and order, and patriotism.
Sure, Jan.
So as the 2024 election approaches, Harris is not only leading Trump in the polls, but also fundraising. So naturally, Donald Trump's reaction has become increasingly erratic with each event. The guy is spiraling out of control, desperately trying to prove that he's not mentally unfit or insane. If that's Trump's goal, his Mar-a-Lago presser that was filled with lies did not help him one bit.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was, he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years. But he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
This was definitely one of the more insane lies that Trump told during the presser.
Another thing that Donald Trump said at this news conference was that you had said derogatory things about Vice President Kamala Harris to him in conversation. Have you ever had a conversation like that with Donald Trump?
No, I have not, nor anybody else.
It sounds like, at least according to you, this entire story, including the helicopter, the near emergency landing, and the conversation about now Vice President Kamala Harris, it just never happened.
Never happened, period. And I think my memory is probably better than his.
What makes this even worse is that Trump confused Willie Brown with another black man, Nate Holden, a former city council member and state senator from Los Angeles. I guess we all look alike, Holden told Politico, letting out a loud laugh. Oof, not a great look for Trump if he's trying to prove to people that he's all still there, especially when he talks about his recent ear wound.
Is your ear fully recovered? Is there a scar? Do you have any hearing damage from that?
Pretty much recovered, yeah. I'm a fast healer.
A fast healer? This guy had Ronnie Jackson tell people that he had a 2-centimeter wound at the top of his ear after being shot at. Just for context, a penny is 1.9 centimeters. There is no way that something that large healed in 13 days.
It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered.
Do you have hearing damage from it?
No, it didn't hit that. I got very lucky. It just hit the lobe, as they call it.
Lobe, as they call it? This down here is the earlobe. This up here is the helix. The stable genius is so lost and confused right now.
She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man.
Wait, why does the way that Trump said man sound so familiar? Oh, I know.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Talk about relevant to Trump's cognitive decline.
That is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds.
I don't even know what heavy into the transgender world means, but I doubt Trump does either. Also, when did advocating for free school lunches, healthcare, and public education become a radical left idea? I guess Republicans don't actually want American kids to be stronger, healthier, smarter, or better. Now, if you thought Trump's little press conference got any better for him, no.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those 3 dates and those networks.
So after cowardly running away from the ABC debate and saying that he would only do his unconfirmed Fox News debate, he's now proposing ABC, Fox News, and NBC?
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it and hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debate?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th, for sure.
He proposed two more debates.
Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Why do you think he pulled out of the debate with you? Why do you think
I am beyond trying to speculate about how he thinks. What else?
Can you comment on some of his other criticisms? He made a whole litany of them today. Some of them are about your...
I was too busy talking to voters. I didn't hear him.
Harris is ready, but Trump, not so much. As you can see, he is struggling.
Well, it changes around a little bit. I'm getting other voters. Perhaps, I was doing very well with black voters, and I still am. I seem to be doing very well with black males. This is according to polls, as you know. It's possible that I won't do as well with black women, but I do seem to be doing very well with other segments, extremely well with Hispanic. Jewish voters way up. White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up.
White supremacists are... uneducated white males are pretty much the only demographic that Trump can rely on. And if Trump really wants to talk about white males, I don't mean to add salt to the wound, but the White Dudes for Harris online fundraiser had more than 200,000 white men and raised more than $4 million. Also, none of the other voter groups that Trump mentioned are going in his direction. He's wrong about that, just like he's wrong about Vance's fantastic work on the campaign trail.
And I have to tell you, J.D. Vance has really stepped up. He's doing a fantastic job.
I'm actually told that we have footage of J.D. Vance on the campaign trail doing a fantastic job. J.D. Vance has been busy on the campaign trail. He's been insulting women, creepily stalking VP Harris on an airport tarmac, questioning whether Harris is black and Indian, and denigrating veterans everywhere by trying to attack Walz's 24 years of military service.
Go ahead.
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum?
On what?
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum this November?
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now.
Wow, I haven't seen Trump dodge something that quickly since the Vietnam draft. I was just informed that Trump will also release his infrastructure plan, healthcare plan, and taxes at his new upcoming press conference. It should take place in about
2 weeks. 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 We are coming out with that plan in 2 weeks.
The truth is, Trump has no idea what's on the ballot in Florida or even what day it is, and everyone in that room and watching knows it. But the funniest part of this whole press conference was when Trump's insecurity about crowd sizes caused him to freak out.
But on crowd size, in history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have, and you know that.
Have you seen Chappell Roan's crowds? Absolutely packed at her concerts, like dangerously packed. Trump, on the other hand, can barely fit a venue in Montana. He is very sensitive about his small crowds, and also his teeny tiny hands for that matter.
And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people in South Carolina. I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me. But she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party.
Crowds are very triggering for Trump, especially when Harris and Walz have explosive enthusiasm and energy at every rally they hold. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. I mean, the guy is so cooked that he's bought into the idea that the Harris-Walz rallies are fake. But before we jump into this next part, I want to thank today's sponsor, Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. And all you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then, Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. I love how Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts, so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Gabe to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Gabe for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen Maggie, I was at the mall, I was at the Washington Monument, I was at the whole thing. I had crowds, I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day, and I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people.
Right.
Trump claiming that he had a bigger crowd on January 6th than MLK did for his famous I Have a Dream speech is a wild take. In the span of 10 minutes, Donald Trump went from saying this, "Excuse me, okay, the black population loves me," to saying this, "Excuse me, very rude, my crowds were much larger than Martin Luther King." I mean, not only is Trump's feeble attempt at bragging pathetic, but it's also a flat-out lie. According to the National Park Service, approximately 250,000 people attended MLK's speech, while Trump, on the other hand, had anywhere from 10,000 to 25,000 people at his address. Also, Trump and MLK did not even speak in the same location. MLK spoke from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, which looks east toward the Washington Monument. Trump spoke at the Ellipse, a grassy area just south of the White House. And who could forget Trump's desperate attempt to make his inauguration seem larger than Obama's? Trump got so triggered by such a low turnout that he forced Sean Spicer to make an announcement.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph showing that a misrepresentation of the crowd in the original tweet in their paper, which showed the full extent of the support, depth, and crowd and intensity that existed. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong.
Trump even had a government photographer crop the photo to make his crowd look larger.
You are a sad, strange little man.
Trump is such a sad little man whose mind is so far gone that he is still talking about Biden at his rallies.
We're going to get Joe Biden out of the White House. What's he doing now? Greg, what's he doing? You know, he wanted to debate. If we didn't have a debate, he'd still be there. Can you imagine if we didn't have a debate? Why the hell did I debate him?
Trump's brain is so fried that he's glitching again.
I did do a lot of driving. I'd go to one. We went to some friend's house, a really good friend's house. Onto the lives of our children.
Don't worry, he eventually gets back on track to discuss Harris.
Kamala Harris. You know, it's interesting. Nobody really knows her last name. If you ask people, do you know what her last name is? Nobody has any idea what it is. Harris. It's like Harris. I don't know. How the hell did this happen?
Huh?
Sometimes referred to as Kamala. You know, she got about 9 different ways of pronouncing the name. And because the press is so dishonest, no matter how you say it, they'll say you were wrong. You were wrong. I don't care if I get it right. Actually, I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. I actually haven't been accused that I know of calling it wrong, but if I did, they'd say that he did it on purpose. And you could do that. I've done a lot of bad name calling where you call somebody that you know how to say the name perfectly and you call it on purpose. They say, sir, you made a mistake. I said, no, I didn't.
Nope, Trump knows her name is Kamala, and he even says it correctly here, but he will intentionally say it wrong other times to pander to his base. You know what? Since Trump's brain has regressed to that of a child, here's a simple lesson on how to say Kamala's name correctly, taught by some kids.
It's not Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's not Kamala.
It's Kamala.
Kamala Harris. Kamala's for our schools.
Kamala's for affordable childcare.
That's Kamala. Kamala Harris.
You know how I know Trump and his campaign are struggling right now? This right here.
You know, I think J.D. Vance is weird. You know, it's a word that they use. I think he calls me that too. No, we're not. We're very solid people. We want to have strong borders. We want to have good elections. We want to have low interest rates. We want to be able to buy a house. We want great education. We want strong borders. I think we're I think we're the opposite of weird. They're weird. You know what they do? They work with the press on coming up with a soundbite, just a soundbite. And every station that night, all the networks, CBS, and ABC, NBC, they all said, oh, they were called weird. It's unbelievable. You know, it's not a word that's really used too much in politics, but it's a terrible thing that they can do this. It's just a soundbite. No, J.D. Vance is a great patriot.
Even Trump sycophant Eric Bolling is saying there's a problem.
Is he not focusing on that? Why is he going to Montana?
I think you're right. I think it's a mistake. And he kind of gave that away yesterday at that 1 hour plus press conference where someone was asked, did your strategy change now that you have Kamala Harris? And he said, well, I'm going to let her get through the convention, the DNC, and then our strategy to hit her, as he said, will emerge. I think it's a mistake. I think every moment matters. And he's going to Montana because he wants to be tester. That's a very vulnerable Senate seat. There's a former Navy SEAL that looks like he has a shot at unseating Tester, along 17-year Democrat senator. So he's doing that because if Trump believes, he believes. Here's the other thing. I think his advisors are doing him wrong. They're telling him he's winning, and he's not right now. Kamala Harris has bumped up in popularity, in money, in polling. He's got to bring back 2016 Donald Trump, but he's running 2020 Donald Trump because he has advisors that tell him everything he wants to hear, and it's a mistake.
We are less than 3 months away from the election, and a lot can happen in that time, which is even more reason to keep up the momentum. Phone banking, going to rallies, registering people to vote, donating, you name it. Most importantly, we need to keep calling out Trump, Vance, and MAGA for what they really are. Weird. We need to keep educating people on the GOP's fascist playbook, Project 2025. And while we have made progress in the last 4 years, there is still a lot that needs care and fixing. Because remember, we are not going back.
We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not. And we are going to move forward. We will move forward.
Well, that's all for me today. Thanks so much for watching, and feel free to follow me at I Am Gabe Sanchez. What Was That is made possible by viewers like you. And if you'd like to support the show and help us grow, you can contribute to my Patreon at patreon.com/IamGabeSanchez. So until next episode, I'm Gabe Sanchez, and this has been What Was That?